Hey guys, it's Mario here. I hope you're doing well. In this video, I want to share with you my story, how I overcame gaming addiction. I want to take you guys all the way to the beginning, when little Mario first got hooked on video games, how this progressed over the years, how I got more and more addicted, how at some point in my life gaming was the only thing I had. I thought that I would be gaming for a living. I thought I would be a pro. I was actually semi-pro at some point. And how this progressed and how I got more and more addicted and how I finally overcame it and how much better my life turned out to be because of that decision. And I want to take you guys through this story. And this is some of the stuff that I never thought I'd be sharing with anybody, to be honest, like with you guys. I never thought I'd be putting this out there, especially not on the internet in front of so many people. It definitely dives deeper into my life story. So I'm kind of excited to share it, and also I was a little bit hesitant to do this video to begin with. So let's just start off with how it all started. We were lucky, I'd say, like me and my brother were lucky that our dad was a geek. He was a nerdy guy. So he was the guy who was always into technology, and we were the first ones to get a computer in our little village back home. And that was like early 90s. Nobody had a computer back then. And I remember, when I first got that computer, we were using like DOS. I learned the command line. I was literally breaking stuff every single week, and we had like a uncle who was coming over and fixing it because the uncle was a technician. He knew a little bit more than us, and he was fixing it all the time, and I would always be breaking, and he would actually be bringing me video games. And even before that, I was playing a little bit, Nintendo, different types of like consoles that were unknown. There was this game called Contra on one of the consoles. I know my friends had that. We were poor, so we didn't really have that kind of stuff. But one of my neighbors, who was, his dad was actually living in Switzerland and working and sending money back home, and he would be sending gifts and bringing gifts as well. So he brought a Nintendo. That was like the first time I actually got to experience some video games, because I heard stories about Nintendo, but I never really seen one in real life. And when my neighbor got it, we were literally like, me and my brother, like they had to drag us home. Like I remember my mom going there and was like dragging me home because like, look, you can't stay there. I literally wanted to move into my neighbor's house. Like I wanted to live there and play Nintendo every single day, all day. That was what's happening. But that's not really when I got addicted. I actually got addicted when we got that first PC. It was like a 386, I think Intel is like 286, really, really old. And I remember we didn't have Windows at the beginning. Like first I had DOS, and then eventually we had Windows 3.1. For all you guys that are into software, you know what I mean. And the first real game, like the first game that I really got hooked on was Wolfenstein 3D. That was for me like the first person shooter. It was like this whole new universe, because before that I was playing a little bit on the consoles. It was like arcade and like Super Mario style games and stuff like that. But this was a first person shooter, and I was hooked, man. Like I was playing every single day. I would basically be like playing for like 8 hours a day. I'm fighting with my brother all the time, like who's gonna play. Like that was destroying our relationship for like bigger part of my life, especially like early days, because we're all non-stop fighting who's gonna play. And because we had the first computer in our town, all the kids would be like coming over, like all the neighbors, like, oh, what is this? Like, how does this work? And that was like really when I got into it. And eventually that progressed. And I think the next really big one for me was Doom. I played Doom a little bit, but really, really big one was Duke Nukem 3D. Man, like Duke Nukem 3D, I was absolutely obsessed out of my mind. I wanted to beat that game without losing any health. That's how obsessed I was with that game. I wanted to go through it. I was discovering all these like secret corridors and secrets and gathering all this stuff, and there was like different types of monsters coming in. I was really hooked. I even knew like the Duke Nukem, like the audio and the songs and everything. I would be literally dreaming about it when I was going to bed. And that was like when I was really young. That was even before school. I was already hooked pretty hardcore. When school came, basically what happened is that there were more games. And I remember getting games back in the day, it was not like today, you can just download a game. There was no internet, right? Like you had to really fight to get a game. Initially it was floppy disks, then it turned out into CDs, but in my town, where we lived in our little village, like there was no shops, like there was nothing. So I had to persuade my dad sometimes for like a whole month, so he could drive, and me and my brother would like persuade him like all the time, every single day. Let's get a new game. I need a new game. We need a new game. After a month, he would like sit us in a car, drive us for like an hour and a half to a nearby city where we could actually go to. There's like one guy who was selling and reselling these games. And that's where we like restocked. We get like a whole pile of like CDs. Eventually, like when CDs came, we got like better games. We got like a bag of CDs, and that was huge. I remember one of the games that was particularly addictive to me initially when it came out was Dune 2000. I don't know if anybody here remembers that, but that first we got addicted to FPSs, but that was like when you moved to like the strategy types of games like Age of Empires and Dune. Oh my God, like I would literally be faking that I was sick to not go to school so I can stay home and play video games. That was what's going on. Like throughout the entire school, this was the place where I could sort of express myself in a sense. And remember back in the day, like that was like early 90s and 90s, there was, war times going on. There was a lot of stuff happening, a lot of stress happening, a lot of nonsense in that region. I don't want to get into politics, but it was pretty tough to be Croatian and to be in this area. It was pretty tough on everybody, and there was a lot of stress around, but we were little kids and we didn't really know, we were just playing games, we were, escaping there, and we could be heroes. We could be whatever you wanted in there. Like we could have whatever you want. We could build huge empires in these real-time strategies. We could also build stuff in in FPS. We could get all these weapons. It was really fun. And I remember those first couple of games, there was junior school. The real addictive stuff happened is when you start playing those real-time strategies, one game lasts for 6-7 hours. You can drag it on to last forever, and then you can connect. I remember we had a neighbor. He would eventually got a PC, and he would had to drag his entire PC, everything, a huge box and a monitor and a keyboard and everything. It would connect with a LAN cable. So we would take that cable and we'd try to play versus each other. That was pretty huge, and there was again no internet, so you couldn't play against other people. This was the only way to play against other people. And we thought even of taking a huge cable. One time we tried this. We took a huge LAN cable that was 300 meters, and we tried to drag it from our home to their home to the neighbor's home so we can connect and we could actually play against each other. And that was pretty cool. You had teams teaming up in my house, teams teaming up there. And that was literally all we did. All the other kids were they were playing soccer, they was running around. For me was basically how can I play more? Because it was engaging. My brain was running at 150%. And it really didn't get, that was all fun and games. But at some point, I remember when Unreal came out, when the first Unreal came out, that's when I was already sort of mature in a sense of I thought about, look, you can actually get pretty good at this, it's a skill, and you could beat other people and you can actually get pretty competitive. At that point, there were also internet cafes with multiple computers. And I was playing against everybody else, and because I already invested 5,000 hours of practice in FPS, I was pretty much kicking everybody's ass because I had 7 years of practice before that came out. And when Unreal Tournament came out, that was when I was really, really serious. That was basically my game. Everybody knew that. Every single, I would walk into a LAN cafe where there was 15 people playing. They were oh shit, it's that guy again. And nobody knew nobody knew me. I didn't have many friends there. I was just kind of a loner introvert. And I would just basically go to that LAN cafe, kick everybody's ass, and you get a lot of that validation as a nerdy kid with very, very tiny. I didn't really grow in terms of my height. I was always kind of behind, and I didn't have a lot of weight. I was kind of skinny and really weak everywhere, but I would be that kid, when you show up in that internet cafe, people are oh shit, he's gonna play. Let's all just go, let's just not waste money, because we're literally paying I think it was a couple of dollars per hour or something like that, and it's local currency, it's a bit less. But you had to play, and people were oh shit, I'm not gonna play now because this guy's playing, because I would literally kick everybody's ass because I had already 7-8 years of experience. And eventually what happened with Unreal Tournament was really interesting, is that we got internet. For the first time we got DSL. When DSL came in, I realized that Unreal Tournament you can actually play online versus other players. And that's when I realized how bad I was, because I was the biggest fish in my little pond. But my little pond was like nothing. Like people didn't really know how to do that, how to know how to play. So when I went online, that's when I was like, this whole world, like there's Germans with like low ping, they had low latency, they could kick everybody's ass. Those old games weren't that optimized like they are today. And I want to give you guys some perspective here, is that you're looking at a guy and myself, like literally my life is gaming, Star Trek, reading like whatever I could find on how to get better at games or more science fiction, and literally I was the nerdiest person you can imagine. Like there's not much you could talk to me about. Like you could only talk to me about gaming. Like if you're not in gaming, I'm like done. We don't have anything to talk about. Like that's the only thing in my life that's happening. And you can imagine a kid like that, how many friends you're gonna have. Like if friends, like if they're not into gaming, done. Like there's nothing you can chat about, and you're always so excited about it. But in one sense, like I was never really sharing that with anybody. Like even though it was very exciting for me, like to go back home and play, I was never sharing that because I thought people would judge me, and they would. Like the truth is they would, because they didn't understand. Because most people, if you're addicted to gaming right now, most people don't understand how gratifying and how addictive it actually gets. It's like this, your brain, when it works at 150% to beat something, and it's like a huge challenge, and you overcome that and you reach that, you get a huge spike of happiness and dopamine, and you're kind of ingraining that habit deep and deep and deep. And that was the huge issue. Like I didn't have people that, I mean, I couldn't share that with anybody, and nobody really understood me except a few friends. Eventually, when it started online, I could link up with a couple of buddies. Actually, one of the people that I used to play Unreal Tournament online with became one of my clients. It became one of the huge success stories in my program, and now he's actually a part of my team in my company, which is huge, right? And that's like some of those friendships that I had from back then. Actually, we eventually turned into cool people. Some people are still playing, actually, which is really, really weird when you think about it. Some are still playing a game that came out in 1998, 1999. They're still playing it. It's ridiculous. Unreal Tournament. I mean, it's a great game, but I mean, come on, all right? You get a life. And eventually the addiction from there, because Unreal Tournament, even when I started playing it, when I got the connection to play online, it was already in a decline. It was already a game that only the most hardcore people played. I mean, there were still tournaments, and I was playing eventually at it's called the Euro Cup. It was one of the tournaments organized by Clanbase, a website that actually got shut down. I checked that before I was making this video. I was like, can I look into Clanbase? And I couldn't find it. And over the years, I played many games. I played like weird stuff like Turok. I played like Quake. I played all of that stuff. Like Quake was really big, but I really got hooked in that Unreal Tournament, and I thought I would be like playing that for years and decades. I actually thought about making money with that, because we did have some sponsors, and when I was in this one of these clans, and they would send us gear, and eventually there were talks about like getting paid for stuff, but there wasn't really that much profit. It's like, it was already an old game, and back then even gaming itself wasn't that profitable. And now eventually, because I got in college at this point, I met a lot of other people, and actually there were more nerds back, especially in my college in computer science. There were more nerds. So I started meeting up with these guys who were playing World of Warcraft. And guess what happened? Eventually Mario transitioned from one addiction, which is Unreal Tournament, to World of Warcraft, and now it was game over for real life. Like it was absolutely immersive. It was incredible. Like all my friends that I hang out with were playing World of Warcraft. I was playing World of Warcraft. Everybody was playing World of Warcraft. Only thing we talked about was World of Warcraft. Outside of the game, inside of the game, dreaming. Like I wasn't even like back home. I like literally the only people I ever got into contact with were World of Warcraft people. And that's really like, at that point, you know the difference between playing as a hobby and for fun, playing as form of like a real addiction, where you will sacrifice everything to play. Like I remember people like calling me up, no, can't do it, raid, grind, achievement, PvP, like everybody. I would say no to everybody. I would be missing like weddings and stuff like everything, like just to play. If it was raid day, it was done. It was like a job, basically. Like you would show up, but it was a job that you love to do. And I progressed in ranks. We eventually got actually some realm first with my guild, which is a pretty big achievement in World of Warcraft. Like that's a sign that you're hardcore enough. I was playing at level 70 and then eventually up to level 80. I remember level 70 was much more fun, if I recall that. Level 80 was not that fun anymore, but still was a huge deal for me because all my friends were there. And really that immersive experience when all your friends and your social circle and everybody's playing games and that's the only thing you have in your life, that's the real problem. That's the real issue because you're constantly being reinforced that this is the right way to live life. And this is when my health got absolutely destroyed and absolutely hammered, especially at college. This is when I got really fat. Like you guys that saw my before picture, this is the time when I actually got that fat. Because I was just drinking Coca-Cola. All the food that we were getting was ordered in, or we would send one guy who was not rating at the time to bring us food, and we'd just literally be sitting down and playing all day. Like there was nothing else going on. Energy expenditure like zero. The only time I would go and do something was go to the toilet and come back. That's literally it. Like everything else was done with the mouse, the keyboard, and I would use my headset and on Ventrilo and I would talk to other people who were in the game. That's basically my entire energy expenditure of the day. I would miss classes in college. I would just do everything that I could to maximize my in-game time and how much of PvP I got and how much rating experience we have and how better I get and all that good stuff in World of Warcraft. But that was the point actually at that point because it reached such a deep level that I got so deep into it that I started realizing is like I was seeing people around me getting, having fun. I was actually like my eyes started opening at some point when one of my friends quit the game because he was getting pissed off a little bit. Is number one, it's like he said like he one day is like, look man, we're just grinding all day. Like we're not doing anything. This is all a grind. This is all an absolute waste of time. We're like, no man, like don't worry about it. He's just pissed off. He's not really, he doesn't mean it seriously, but actually this guy was the first guy among our group to quit the game. He was like, this is a grind, this is not worth it, and this is getting worse and it's getting less fun, and it's getting like, it is becoming something that is taking, like for him, it's like draining, making me more stressed. I don't want to do it anymore. And his college actually started, like his grades started suffering a lot because we were because most of we were really smart, so we can kind of get good grades even though we were not really, that we could hack studying in a sense and still maximize game time. But this guy was like really deep into the game. He was one of the best among us and one of the longest ones who played. So he really had a better perspective. He was playing all the way since like Manila, World of Warcraft. And he had that sense, and he was the guy who did the first reality check with us, and when we were meeting up with him later on, because he wasn't in the game, we couldn't even communicate as much, and we had to, as we didn't really know what to talk about, because if you're not in the game, like what do you ask someone? And he was the first one, and then eventually that inspired me actually to take a little bit of a reflection on my life, and this huge moment for me, like the turning point, was actually when I got back from college, when I got back home, because while I was at college, I was still playing pretty hardcore. I played World of Warcraft, and at the same time, I was kind of dabbling in this game called Dota. You guys probably know it. It was like a modification for for Warcraft 3, and eventually it became a standalone game. I now know some guys are still playing that. And I played that a little bit on the side. I played with like the Croatian team and with all these guys as well. Like there was a G Arena, some kind of client called like that, and we were playing there while at the same time doing World of Warcraft. But when I came back from college to home, and I was like, I just graduated, I was unemployed, like I was fat, like low energy, everything was kind of in my life was a complete mess. My parents were like, look, you need to get a job. Like we can't keep support. Like there's nothing we can do. Like we're not rich. Like we can't do anything for you right now. Like you're the one. Like and I was actually feeling like they wouldn't put in that much pressure on me, how much pressure I was putting on myself, because I thought like, look, I got the college degree now. Like I win at life. I just get a really good job and I can keep playing. But that was not the case. It was actually sort of like this crisis. And you guys all remember like 2008 crisis that probably hit like United States and everything else like pretty hard. But in this area where I'm at, like Croatia and this area, the Balkans region in general, like there's always crisis. So I couldn't really find a job, and I was playing video games, and I just realized like my life is going to shit, basically. Like everything is going to shit because I now had to provide, I had to contribute, I had to give value, I had to bring toward my family, I had to I moved back in with them. Like I'm still dependent on them. And as a 23-year-old, I'm like, shit, like is this what I'm supposed to do? I'm still like supposed to leech from my family and from my dad, who's working like 2 jobs to support me and my brother and like my mom, and like it just was really bad. And that was sort of the tipping point in one sense, was that just that pain that I felt like I was just leeching and I was just not contributing at all. But the second one was that I eventually got into fitness from actually one of my friends from World of Warcraft. He introduced me to fitness and he introduced me to personal development as well, one of my other friends. And that's really the tipping point for me when that addiction started to, it just wasn't as solid as it was what was before in my life. Like I started realizing that the gaming was taking away more than it was giving. I started realizing that I need to be that character now. Like I can't level up some random virtual like bullshit character when my life is not good. Like when my life is suffering and I'm like level 1, I need to get myself to level up. Like the life that I'm living depends on me, not on that. And I can't afford to spend any more time there. I have to level myself up. I need to get a job. And I eventually got a really shitty job actually in a system admin job and nearby, but it was really bad. But it paid a little bit of the bills, and I could, it was like it was a stepping stone. It was a really horrible situation. I'm gonna actually make a video about that in one of the future videos. I'm gonna talk to you guys about that story. But that transition for me, when I got into more personal development, I realized that, the beauty about being a human being is that whatever you do, you're gonna get better at it. Like the same thing that happened with video games. Like if you play and if you put yourself in a situation where you gotta improve and you practice and you practice and you practice, you're gonna get better. And that was for me like in my life when I realized, like especially with fitness. In fitness, that's like the most evident thing that you can ever, like that's the thing that I love about fitness. Like that's the thing love about training and nutrition and exercise that you're doing and with the programs and everything. Because if you put in the work, you're gonna get the result. Like if you're doing things right, like I'm gonna be stronger next time. I'm gonna be stronger next month. I'm gonna look better next month. So there's this progression that is very, very addictive to me. And that's when I realized like you can actually change. Like fitness was the proof to me. Like it was at some point in my life, it was the only light at the end of the tunnel. Like I didn't have much going on for me. I was stuck in a shitty job that was paying like $200 a month, like barely, like paying like third of that for gas to get to the place and get back, spending like 2 hours in a commute, my car with no air conditioning, driving back, like old car because I couldn't afford anything else. And at that time, even then, like fitness was the only thing where I could see progress in my life. I could see like those little level ups, those points, those experience points going up a little bit. And that was the realization in my life that really broke the gaming addiction, was the fact that, you gotta level up this guy. Like this guy is in charge, and your life gets better when you get better. And the only way actually to get your life better is if you become a better person, if you become more capable, if you become more skilled, if you become better. And that's it. That was the biggest realization for me, is that there's a point in your life that you realize like the external, it doesn't matter. It's like relatively, the level of difficulty, let me put it this way, the only way to make real life go from hard mode to medium to easy mode is for you to get better, right? So relatively speaking, you're just getting more skilled and capable, but the thing you're doing is equally hard as it is ever gonna be. So going to the gym as an example. Initially, going to the gym for me was really tough because I sucked. I didn't have the habit. I didn't know what I was doing. I was like, go there and like take the dumbbell, like walk around a little bit, like you feel stupid. Eventually I got into a program my friend recommended to me, like a basic bro split. But then at least, I felt like I was moving forward, and I realized as I was getting better, that going to the gym became easier. As I was getting better and more capable and more skilled, eating right became easier. So the point of that is that eating right is always the same difficulty for me. That's how I thought about this. Like eating right is always the same difficulty, but I can make it easier if I get better and if I get more skilled. And that was it. That was the huge realization for me. Like level yourself up, be that character, be that person who's gonna level up and get yourself to the best version of yourself that you can be, and that's what's gonna get your life to be better. And that was huge for me. That's broke all the gaming addiction, everything that I ever had. And since then, and it's been a long time ago, like since then I traveled to 51 countries. I've built, like last 3 years, I've been running my own business and we're kicking ass. Like we've been getting amazing success stories all the time. And I have worked with hundreds of guys. I did public speaking events in like just last year in like 12 different countries. I mean, it's been amazing. It's been a whole journey. And just from that one realization is that, you're the character. Like you gotta get yourself to a higher level and not just like not invest your time in some stupid virtual thing, which is not stupid. I'm saying stupid, but you guys know that it's not stupid. It's real. It is pretty damn real. Like, it is real when you're in that game, and it feels real, and it is real, and your brain makes it real. But nothing is more real than this, real life. This, what you're doing with your body, with your mind, with people in your life. Nothing is more real than that. And once you get addicted to life, all those other addictions go away. Once you get addicted to your progress in your life, all those other addictions, like addiction to alcohol, addiction to gaming, addiction to whatever, like soft stuff that you're using or whatever, nonsense you're addicted to, bad emotions, you're addicted to this, none of that can compare to having a really great life that you've designed and built yourself, and you're getting addicted to that. Like, you're getting that addicted, that high of that you get, and you feel that progress. And that's what broke it for me. That's my mindset right now, and that's really the end goal. And I think that nothing can compare to how good your life can be. Like, no matter how many achievements you get from, like, how you can numb those emotions by drinking or by smoking or by playing video games or by eating junk food or by eating like whatever, nothing can compare to getting a great achievement in your real life. That's what really brings you out. That's what aligns you. That's what gives you that that solid fulfillment that you can find nowhere else. Like, you will never be as fulfilled as when your life is sorted out, when you got your fitness and your health, when you're feeling really great in your body, when you got your business, when you have that financial freedom, when you have those great relationships with people, and you just master those three, and life is good, right? That's what it's all about. So that's what I wanted to share with you guys today. I wanted to share this story. I wanted to put this out there. I wanted to put myself out there a little bit for you guys, if you guys get to know me a little bit more. And I'd love to hear from you in the comments if you went through some similar stuff as I did, if you were addicted to this level as I was. I'd love to hear your story in the comments below. Aside from that, make sure to hit that thumbs up button if you enjoyed this, if you enjoyed me rambling on and talking, sharing my life story here. Other than that, make sure to hit that bell button next to the subscribe button, because it's going to notify you when new videos come out. I've heard that YouTube doesn't really deliver new videos to everybody, so you got to get that bell button and you got to hit there so you get those notifications so you can check out the next one. I hope you guys are having a great day. I'll check you guys in the next video. I'll see you soon. Peace.